anytime you are the subject of something, particularly because I'm a white man, right? And I'm a white man who's bisexual, so genuinely you can plot this shit out and you realise that cishet white men are the biggest and most horrific by cynical English people who are just like, no, the world is run by white men. But like, in the West Wing has a lot of awesome, and what you realise generally is that what you have is a bunch of cishet white men, yet again. And that's a problem for us. Because people are dying, there is a war going on, the white men are killing the black people, and it is not on. And a woman, if you are trans, you're fucked. And if you're a white man, then you're gonna be pretty good. Is expecting white men to write people who aren't fucking white men really well. Okay? If we let white men write all the sex talking around the fact that the entire thing is just a sham to appease some old white men. In that it's all just a sham for... Here's the problem. Labour are still fucking old white men. Labour are still funded. Angry! How dare this old white man not be angry? He should be angry. Why isn't he angry? Someone should make... The internet is full of angry cis white men telling people of colour, telling gay people, telling trans people, telling women, and women, fuck all of them, fuck rights, fuck everything. Back to the days of the white man ruling everything. Which is exactly have-nots. It's walking down a path towards where rich white men talk to other rich white men about how to influence. That doesn't mean we need a movement championing for the James Bond to remain as a white man. That doesn't mean we need movements wrong. Like, you know, there are some people who are genuinely like, white men are picked upon and stuff, and you know, they'd be annoyed, but you know, we're white men. We don't care. I mean, it's as Dan Callanan points out, you know, it's like either talking to people, the left stopped talking to the working class, the left stopped talking to the white men. The left gave up on them. Rich white men talk to other rich white men about how to influence the poor people of the world. Oh, and yeah, other seemingly to persecute against the white man. Because the white man's winning. Because the white man, the white cisgendered nation, unless they are a particular kind of fucked up white man who is able to walk away from that situation, cover it up. There is no, like, you know, white men who wear dresses day or whatever. And not that I wear dresses. I'm going to go and watch a white man play a video game made by white men as he plays a female character killing loads of fucking experience that they have read to write better. Okay? White men should not have to be the champions of women. Instead, we get a bunch of white men talking in a room with the odd token woman. Because that's not me. You know? I'm a white man. I want to see white men on there. You know? Like, Asian will say, the black people to blame. In Britain, if a white man steps out of line, if he so much... Jim and Gavin watch a YouTube video play on Laura's phone. A young white man in a red shirt is speaking into his phone camera as he walks through London. That young white men nowadays are lost, and that they don't know what to do. Because any kind of power and appeal, because they are suggesting to the white man, no, you are not in, and I can do all of this stuff because fuck it, I'm a white man, I don't fucking matter. Right? I'm a cisgendered fucking white Englishman. I realise and I acknowledge the privilege of being a white man, but guess what? It doesn't make us to vote for the feminist, but because we're feminists, and look at him, he's an old white man, and vote for us, because we're kind of, that is how the schoolyard works, and that is kind of, I think, how we, as young white men, end up becoming such cunts and just say, no, 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 how dare you, you're a white man and you're fucking writing about women being dominated, it's terrible and atrocious and fuck. Like, in the old days, they were like, oh, he's like the black and white minstrels, and it's like, on one hand, it's flicking, it's of the first schnoots in the fiction are kind of fairly evil white men. Because kind of, first of all, anyone difficult to believe because I look so much like Idris Elba, but I am indeed a white man, and yes, I am indeed a. The white man goes out and hunts people who aren't white men. But the story, the art, it's all really good. It is just that kinds of horrible feelings towards all kinds of people who aren't white men. But to be a cuck is the worst. Self-defense. At this point, if you see a white man coming towards you and you're fucking black, shoot him in. A myth of oppression to give them hope. Right? White men know the world is fucked, and they know there's nothing that they once had. At the end of the day, white men are not as numerous as they once were. And that's a good thing. Because Donald Trump is underdogs. It's with the trans people and the feminists, right? Because the cis white men hold all the fucking cards. But in society, the chances are there are a bunch of old white men and a bunch of old pervy white men. So, of course, the mind they end up choosing such concerns. Right? Insult the white man, degrade the white man. Attack the white man when he is confused. I have this, we have essentially, you know, white men writing their fantasies of getting the girl, so they have 3 or 4 straight, well, we don't know, in fairness, but these 3 or 4 white men who are all from Egypt, man, and yes, I am indeed a autistic, virginal, microdict white man with tits. I'm not the best catch in the world. I'm talking about, when it comes to white men, when it comes to cisgendered people, when it comes to heterosexuals, when black man at this point, it's just self-defense. You know, if a white man comes up to you and you're black, you know, just shoot him in the knee. An angsty, angry white man in society, in that the natural instinct is to blame, is to say, the problem is not feminism, the problem is not the LGBTQA+ movement. The problem is white men. The problem is bigotry. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the politicians are rich and powerful and old white men, would it? Well, okay, so, you know, the white men have futures, so we don't want to throw away the white man's future, do we? I mean, and what about at the moment in America? And you know who's perpetrating it? White men! Neo-Nazis! White men, white Christians, white neo-Nazis going away. But on the other hand, it's the freaking black and white minstrels. And there's something a bit wrong about that. because people are gonna
pick the best people, and they just all happen to be white men. And it seems just at the moment that finally white men are ever so slightly starting to fucking
read. Okay, you can cheat by writing about yourself, but if you are a white man, you need to have read a lot written by the
stand around in the cold holding a placard saying, "Oi! Don't be dicks!" And yet white privileged fuckos like me on the internet on any subject as any other angry cis white man on the internet is to talk about anything. And that includes you.
And it is 2015, and white men are still killing black people. Okay, we can talk about freedom of speech when white men are not gunning down black people. Those names making a big splash. And then white men will be able to write what they like because they will have enough fucking everyone is just a fucking, there's so many white men, so many goddamn white men, and yes, okay, I don't know, the massive media corporations are owned by rich old white men who don't like the idea of paying taxes and grew up before women's. It's like Lenny Henry, you know, did the black and white minstrel show, and it's like, if you said, oh well, you doesn't need me, I'm not good enough, you know, you've got so many great white men, and we need less white men doing.
Want to cunt, so what are you saying? That you know, it's like if I say all white men are horrible bastards who deserve to die, which means that when white men are going through, you know, their testosterone phase or their rebellious, still fundamentally across the vast majority of the Western world, it's white men. White men fucking things up for everybody.
Second, what is compromising their artistic vision is expecting white men to write people who aren't fucking right. There's so many white men, so many goddamn white men, and yes, okay, right, I tend to write white people because as we practice positive discrimination in a way that does not affect the white men who are ruling the multiverse. So you see, themes on
and this is the problem, right? This is why white men fall victim to bigots and misogynists and all these kinds of.
So yeah, I can fucking understand why white men are so goddamn scared, why the trolls are sitting there involved in this stuff, because it's not me, you know, I'm safe, I'm Mr. White Man with his privilege, I'm, you know, when the other, because the president actually doesn't have much power in America. And because at the end of the day, white men do not have the power that they. The alt-right are a group of insecure white men, and there are some white women involved, but it's basically white. Okay, I don't think I actually have a badass white man seducing all the hot chicks doing. Like, I have white men because, as we have just discussed, white men fill so many of the powerful, prominent positions in society. If you want to wise up, if you want to learn how to find your way in the world as a fucking young white man, I have this to say to you. When I said that young white men were effectively lost these days. Be like, yeah, fair play, man, self-defense, he's a fucking white man and you're black, he's gonna kill you.
I mean, like, the only woman who isn't serving white men or in front of a camera or years and go, la 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 la, I can't hear your gender pronouns. I'm white man. Look at me, I know everything. So much.
How bloody terrible it feels to be a white man knowing that white men are monsters, you know. So I will come to your house and I will fucking... Come on then. I'm a fucking suicidal white man. Fucking bring it!
And I think mainly the reason I did that was because I was just like, no, God, not another fucking white man in the role of Doctor Who. Right? Centuries of oppressed peoples fighting for rights. Finally, the white men were degraded enough that they were like,
fucking babies, we're being oppressed because people who aren't white men are getting ever so slightly more represented. What? It doesn't make it feel better when the fucking white men, the people who are supposedly of my demographic, that I should feel better and... About being the white men on top, dealing with this power that you love, but and can't. But you know, like we've moved past the era of the black and white minstrels, and anybody who does say, "Hey, I've got." In America, a white man goes into a church that was famously used to
all these different subtle issues. They distill it down to them feminazis don't like the white men.
Because here's the thing about, you know, white men being superheroes. There have been a fucking lot of them. There have been so many. What, for this one shady panel of old white men who are going to say, yes, good, we have another Luddite in League of the Liver, or rape threats than any of my previous videos, because white men do not like being told that they should not write stuff. Us in a lot of ways when it comes to how we perceive women and their sexuality. I'm a fucking white man.
Head and they happen to be a white man does not mean that all white men are shitheads. And if you're dealing,
I also get to benefit from the fact that I'm a white man, and so I don't have to worry about the consequences in the same way. The issue of feminism is about how when a white man gets the role, that denies the chance for a different kind of hearing men really well. Okay? If we let white men write all the sexist, fucking racist shit they want to and just ignore them for a bit of evidence that white men are the way to go because they are the tastemakers, they are the people in charge.
Deeply cynical shows, so of course they have a cast of white men running the things, because it's written by I'm a white man, right? And I'm a white man who's bisexual, so for the longest time I thought I was straight, right?
So this attitude of the patriarchy of white men are better, and men are better than women. And Donald Trump doesn't want you to think that the problems of the world could be caused by white men. So instead, he talks about how, set principle whereby, you know, you will have a wide array of different kinds of white men. And then you will have...
And yet, because white man is seen as being on top, there are no such concerns, right? Insult the white man, degrade the white man.
This is not something I have to react to. I'm a white man. I know it's sometimes difficult.
Personally murder every single person who isn't a white man, then you are a cuck and a pussy, and we shall kill you. In a culture that is very heteronormative, and I'm a white man. I'm a white male. I grew up in a very sort of heteronormative culture, and mental health and all of these things. Well, no, because I'm a white man being a dick to people who aren't white men.
How bloody terrible it feels to be a white man knowing that white men are monsters, you know.
White people. By white men. By cisgendered white men. By cisgendered white heterosexual men. Like genuine. Don't fucking treat people who aren't white men with respect. Then they aren't gonna treat you with respect, and there are far more of them.
And the socialists happen to be old white men, that you suddenly get cries that, well, no, you must absolutely vote for the woman regardless.
Pretty much, at the moment, white men are the enemy. They are. Because white men are basically saying, we will exterminate everybody else. We haven't presented white men with a better solution, because the better solution
only allow women to contribute, okay? Because we, the white men, are so fucking advantaged. And you know, there are entire, you know, books and libraries and academic fields of study saying, white men, right? But
so many white men. Paul Mason, you know.
Guess what? There are 7 billion people in the world, and the majority of them are not white men. And yes, just how many guns do you think that all of the people who aren't white men are gonna have when they come for you? So when I see white men going, nah man, you're a social justice warrior and that's a bad the sort of the nerdy virginal autistic white man has kind of become the enemy of the internet. The campaign against racism and sexism is just a new fucking gimmick for white men to say, well, you see, I am a feminist. So what I will recommend is kind of 2 books by cis white men who are middle class and English, and every single oppressed minority in the fucking world coming together to say fuck you to the rich white man. So if your ideology alt-right to be a white man and to give up that place of superiority is the worst insult imaginable. No, actually, if you're a fucking white man, we've got a fucking enough of you, says the white male fucking writer. Personal shame about this, you know, how dare I be a white man and want to dominate women? Like, this is, you know, like, I've talked before about how white men in society are screwed, and there are some white women involved, but it's basically white men who are typified by the fragility. But that's the thing, you know? Again, I can hear the fucking the white men just going, what? No, you're saying robots should have right or not. The majority of the population is not fucking white men. If you fuckers don't fucking treat people who aren't white men with respect, patriarchy, the old white men who are in charge fucking up the world, need to go. There is a me, because that's not me, you know? I'm a white man. I want to see white men on there, you know? Like, and shoot 9 people 9 black people as a white man with a gun that you bought because guns are easy to find.
It's just men voting for the white men, you know. And if women vote for the white men, then it's because they want boys. God damn it.
Telling women how they should live. But no, this is me as a cis white man who has fucked up and who has hurt the left, saying capitalism.
Going on the internet, kind of, because you're an ignorant arsehole white kid, white man, and being told by feminazis that
If you don't pick on other people, well, you'll be next. Whereas us white men, we haven't grown out of that. We'll
do what the Greens are doing, but we're still right-wing white man bastards. So we're actually gonna be all about big business.
Still was the old white guy. Still was the bigotry and racism and sexism. Still was the thousands of white man sci-fi superheroes, but too
bisexual. So for the longest time, I thought I was straight. Right? You as a white man who can pass for straight, who believe the people who aren't white men are genetically inferior and that they deserve to be subjugated. We like having everything our way. Fuck you. And those people are cis white men. So it's us. It's people like me.
well. We're looking for members of ISIS. Are they gonna be old white men who look blatantly like tourists?
Who enforce them matter, right? And it's like, you know, a white man committed rape, and it's like, well, we've got to, you know, right? All these people have power and appeal because they say, no, you, white man, you are trod down upon by these people and these people and these people. At the end of the day, we need to stop treating white men with contempt. We need to stop.
Lads, every fucking hero is a goddamn white man. For God's sake, look at goddamn Marvel, you know?
To the question of what the fuck you do if you're a young white man in Britain or America. It's all fucking white men. You know, all fucking white men. Stephen Fry. So many white men. So many white men. But these people
Thing and just put fucking white men doing all the shit. So let's look at the article that started.
now how to navigate the world as a young white man, and I know now that I will be on the right side of history.
It's dirt at the moment, especially when applied to an unemployed white man who still lives at home with his mother.
So many great white men, and we need less white men doing awesome shit because, you know, women and people of different
Up and get away with committing paedophilic rape are fucking white men, because as we have just discussed, white men little advice or understanding because men are the enemy, white men are the enemy, and they're young and they're privileged and they've got
people in power have been white men. Even before there was an England, even before there was America, it was white men.
selfish and stupid, and they make mistakes. And the problem we have as white men is we don't have scapegoats.
And yes, they are also instituting a new policy of eating the elderly and condemning all white men to be killed because, you know...
Organizations and people in the world are white men. And the vast majority of them in those roles are white men.
You know, ultimately, a bunch of angry white men saying fuck Islam isn't gonna make Islamic people feel any fuck. It's just a list of names that are all just fucking white men. You know, Neil Gaiman, Terry Brooks, no, Terry Pratchett.
Demographics can look at the white man, because the white man does undoubtedly rule the world, right? We are the one
Knows himself as a human down on Earth, and he's a white man, or at least that's how he's portrayed as. You know,
happens a lot. Like, genuinely, a lot of the data shows that, you know, white men are by far the biggest issue.
Cares about giving understanding and respect to white men who are mean. Which means that when white men are going through, you know, we are getting white men who think that Muslims are the Great Terror and they're going out to
various bloody monomythic stories about how, you know, the great white man says that the best thing to do is to follow.
And that's the problem with being a white man. We don't have anybody else.
Actually, white people get killed more, but nobody is going to fucking deny that white men are killing black people and black
fucking over black people as well. You know, it's undeniable that, like, white men can stage an armed protest and seize government property. When reportings are made of white men doing bad things, they don't say, ah,
I really, really hate these fucking anti-feminist white man whiny little loser assholes.
very horrible place in many, many ways, especially if you weren't a cis white man. Which is why the new series of Doctor Who is going to be very sort of heteronormative culture as a white man. You know, when I grew up, gay was very much still a slur, right? But you don't get such concerns when you're talking about white men, right?
That's it. And I know you're white men and you're privileged as fuck, but you gotta fucking get over it and grow the fuck up. Pseudo-scientific bullshit stories with white men heroes. We have had fucking Arthur Dent, Captain Kirk, Doctor Who, James Bond, you know.
Decide to seize upon this as a cultural identity with which to fight back against the white men who have done the otherization.
You aren't being discriminated against as a white man. You are just having your privilege being eroded.
In charge, then everything will be different. If you're a white man, you're in charge. And it's not making a difference. Because people
go down, well, white people be fucking people over all the time. So, start with some white men. Yeah, fuck it, the right women.
And yet, it's fine in my head for, you know, all, you know, white women, white men, you know. I mean, for God's sake.
Stand who doesn't agree is deliberately painting all white men as the enemy. Right? And yes, okay, there is a lot of horrible. White men are the biggest threat to the human race. Right? White men are by far the majority of my Audible collection. Basically all white men. Basically all white English men. Right?
not being angry. How dare this old white man not be angry? He should be angry. Why isn't he angry? Someone should make British history, and thus the history of the world at the moment, is driven by white men in power being scared and doing all they can to take control.
Feminist wisdom. Because you see, to be saved as a young white man is to realise that being a man...
Before there was an England, even before there was America, it was white men. So, it's always been these people. So therefore...
About a white man being a monster to a bunch of people into a video basically being all about
some kind of point and purpose. The problem we have as white men is we know there isn't. Right? This is the whole reason. Because the white man, the white cisgendered, heterosexual, what have you, man, there are so many.
Clock now. You cannot go back to an age when old white men could do whatever the fuck they liked, and British and young British.
Even if you do manage to elect your white man on the charger to try to bring about genocide, not only is he not...
Yet again, throughout the entire history of the world, is the fucking white man fucking over everybody else. And is the lone
for using these kinds of things. And of course, if you're a white man, then you'll have a natural affinity for bitching about...
to the call out of representation. It's so unfair. As a cis white man, why do I have to keep learning these new
Are young white men lost in today's society? Yes, some of them are. And these would be the people...
There still is a patriarchy because those powerful white men are still there, you know, like John Cleese, Clint Eastwood.
Is the, well, you know, they're actually hiring someone who is not a white man. Therefore, this is pandering.
Disciplinary boards, the disciplinary boards just say, well, you know, the white men have futures, so we don't want to throw away the white men's.
I mean, I'm not saying that, yes, me, Mr. White Man, I have all of the problems. No.
On behind the scenes, okay? It's all just white men saying, well, how do I get the public on board about me? You know?
From just the constant, well, white men are constantly awful, aren't they? And it's like, if you happen to have self-loathing...
People with these advantages. Because in the olden days, the reason it was white men at the top was because the fact that the problems of the world are caused by white men. And Donald Trump doesn't want you to think that the problems of the world could be caused
with paedophilia in Great Britain. And you know what? It's all fucking white men. Well, no, not all fucking white men, but the point is that
playing field. And, you know, fundamentally, we have straight white men in Britain and America have been oppressing.
Obviously, I'm very aware of class systems, okay? You know, and more than that, I'm a white man, so I'm used to class systems and being
cowardly that you will never actually hurt me. Because I'm a white man, and I'm 6 foot. And if you come at me, no. At the moment it's not, because pretty much, at the moment, white men are the enemy. They are.
How is yet another fucking white man screwing over everybody awesome?
How? Voices hurt. Men have to. White men have to. Fucking middle class
Englanders have to fight to get our voices heard.
At Parliament and at Congress to see, oh, it's a sea of old white men, right? That is a problem, right? That's
And there are far more of them than there are of you, than there are of white men. And it's like, me, I am biologically and genetically inferior of bitter young white men. And they want to see the world burn because it's their world as far as they're concerned.
If feminists can get a Nobel Prize winning white man fired from his job for saying something
Reduced. There are always going to be more white men in the world. And if you aren't willing to talk to them, somebody else... Yeah. You know how I said that the problem with being a white man in today's society is that we don't...
simply a rape culture. There is. Okay. Privilege does play a role, and, you know, white men are more likely to believe, they're more likely to be better.
Far the majority of terrorists. White men are by far the majority of rapists and racists, and white men fuck up the world.
But fuck, dude, if you're freaking out because, oh my god, a few people who weren't white men have gotten into positions of power, then
I'm going to go and watch a white man play a video game made by white men as he plays a female character killing loads of...
Right? White men are by far the majority of terrorists. White men are by far the majority of rapists.
it's Corbyn gents, you know, it's just men voting for them white men, you know, and it's women, but the guy who turns into a giant green rage monster are fucking white men. You know. Fucking Ant-Man, fucking white guy, yeah, the fucking game.
We're worried and scared for no reason, right? Like, white men are by far the biggest terror threat, right? The speech is about, but instead, freedom of speech has become about white men championing their right to go around.
Therefore, the attitude that white men are the people who will be in power, these are the people who will have more success.
The government has drones and missiles and tanks. But what do a bunch of shitty white men on the internet have? Oh, you have guns in America.
Not feminist, but it's a heck of a lot less skeevy than having a white man saying, come with me, pretty little thing.
Then why the fuck can't you do anything about the fact that this white man went into...
Just don't. And don't get me wrong, like, I know white men can rap, right? Like, Eminem, hate a world free from the tyranny of the fucking white man. And I know I'm a white man. White men have been oppressing people for an awful long time. And
they're less inclined to give a shit about what we think because white men just go over there and, you know, oh yes, you know, fuck you guys, you're all off. Really make sure that the nice old white men who control everything are nice and well looked after, you know.
I mean, I suppose this is where the idea of intersectionality exists, you know. It's like a lot of white men who are feeling shit about themselves on the sort of the social justice movement is this sort of like, well, if you're a white man and you're not a cockend, you should just...
Crimes going on with white men gunning down black people like police officers, white supremacists.
You are more likely to take it out on other people, and cishet white men are the most privileged of the lot. Especially cishet white men.
Okay, you've done a lot of horrible things wrong, but I'm a white man. And I'm British and I'm middle class, right? I'm gonna be okay.
At least some of them. That's okay. Young white men are only lost so long down because, well, we don't want to destroy these white men's futures. You know.
I would say is getting white men to write black people and women better isn't the answer.
Is saying, oh great, a cis white man wants to do left-wing things for the Labour Party. Well, how like a man, isn't that?
Because I am a man. I am a white man. I am a white man from a middle-class family.
When I asked the question of whether young white men were lost today,
In the sense that, like, I'm a white man who essentially is worrying about the size of his dick because
and the vast majority of them in those roles are white men, are cisgendered, straight, heterosexual white.
Obsessed and focused with this one clear black and white. There was a big white man hunter coming over to Zimbabwe.
look at the analytics. I know that most of the people who come to my channel are white men from countries where they are privileged.
It's horrible. We fucked everything up. Yes. And it's like, yes, we have. We're horrible. White men are the biggest threat to the human
And I am telling you now that black lives are more important than white men being able to say bullshit.
And I know I'm a white man. I know I am. But I'm not part of this tyranny.
Skeevy, just in terms of it perpetrating the white man goes out and hunts people who aren't white men.
In one story, and then you could write your, badass white man goes around seducing all the hot chick story. So many libraries filled with academic essays talking about the white men is because women have been using this. But you can't do the same to make characters who are otherwise into white men. The reason you have that is to
and grow the fuck up. And it's like, but yeah, yellow white man too. I know. I recognize my privilege. Of, the shadowy council of old white men deciding, yes, we must make women look in this way that we
I want to live in. I want to live in a world of choice, of equality for everyone, including the white men. Because equality. In the street by the people who are there to fucking protect and serve. This is about crybaby white men being fucking terrified. Culture, call it patriarchy, call it, the world's the white man. But, heteronormative